Welcome to the handover video for your Bailey approach. We will start by touring the outside of the vehicle and then we'll go inside and demonstrate everything on the inside. As you start to go down the near side, so the off side of the vehicle, the first thing you come across is the water inlet port. The whale supply unit simply clips in. There's a small groove that marries with the lid of the hatch. So push in, then bring down the hatch, which holds it firmly in place. The other end of the hose is attached to just an outside tap or to a garden hose. Turn on the tap and automatically the water will start to fill into the tank. When the tank is full, it will stop. If you're on a fully serviced site, you can actually stay connected permanently, and every time you drain water out of the tank inside by opening a tap, the tank will refill automatically through the blue flexi hose. If you're not on a fully serviced site, once your tank is full, you just remove the hose and then drive onto your pitch. Beside the water inlet point, you will find the exhaust for the boiler. When this boiler is operating on gas, it's not unusual to see some condensation pluming around the side of the boiler. No matter how tempted you may be to hang your cagoule hood over there to dry a wet jacket, don't. If there's any blockage of the exhaust port, then there's a sensor inside the boiler, senses the back pressure, and it cuts off the supply of gas and your boiler switches off. Continuing along the vehicle, just before I show you the two hatches there, you can see that tap there. That is grey. It's the grey water. That's the wastewater from your sink, your shower, and the vanity unit sink in the bathroom, stored in a tank underneath the vehicle. And when you're in a location where you have a proper disposal point, you drive over it, open that tap, and drain your tank. Just above that, you'll find the access port to the toilet cassette. And I did show this to you on the day when you viewed the vehicle. To remove the toilet cassette, you lift up the orange handle, draw the cassette out. Thus, the cassette has a waste disposal snoot that you pull round, euphemistically referred to as the crap cap. You undo this, then lifting the unit by the handle and the handle at the rear, you press down this orange button here to release the air pressure, and the waste material is ejected into the appropriate receptacle, usually a flushing 4-inch soil pipe on a campsite. Your cap is got markings on it. If you're using liquid chemicals, fill up to the appropriate amount, put the chemical in through here, adding about a litre of water, shake it up to dilute, then return the entire cassette back into its loading bay, being careful to see the orange handle is clicked in place. If for any reason when you try to withdraw that cassette you feel some resistance, stop. It means that the blade inside, which I'll show you when we're touring the bathroom, has not been closed properly. Now, above that, you'll find the fill point, which again I demonstrated to you on the day when you were viewing the vehicle. This is the fill point for the flushing mechanism for your toilet. Simple turn of the key opens and just fill it with either a hose or a watering can. This is where you would add pink fluid. The pink fluid will stop that water from scaling up and also stop it from going stale. It's not a tank that gets used a tremendous amount. Obviously, it's just a little bit of flush water each time you use the bathroom. As a result, the water can lie there for quite some time. It can get stale and a bit smelly. Pink fluid stops that happening. Continuing our tour around the rear of the vehicle, underneath the back end of the vehicle is slung the spare wheel. Two simple cotter pins pull out, the cage drops down, and the wheel is then free for you to put on. However, this is quite a heavy vehicle, And I, for one, wouldn't want to be jacking up to change a tyre. If you're on holiday and you get a flat tyre, use the roadside assistance that comes with your insurance. Most insurance companies for motorhomes do offer roadside assistance as a standard part of every policy. Check yours to make sure that you do have it, and if you do have it, make a phone call, go into your kitchen, make a cup of coffee, sit back, relax and wait for someone to come and do it for you. You have a 2-bike rack on the back of your approach. It simply pulls out and down. You then place your bikes on the 2 trays here. These straps go through the spokes and the wheels, holding the bike in place. These 2 arms here stretch over, and the strap, this strap here, goes around either the cross member of the bike, you can see it better on this one, or you can turn it at an angle and you can put it around the seat pillar on your bike. Holds the bike firmly in place. You are advised, of course, when you're leaving a bike on a bike rack, that you chain the bike to the bike rack as well with a proprietary branded bicycle security system. When traveling, lock the bike rack up in place if you don't have any bikes on it, and bring these 2, these are called bike blocks, bring these 2 blocks down and they will stop your bar falling away. These 2 grills here are the grills at the back of your fridge. Never block these up because if you block that up, you don't get air flowing around the back of your fridge and your fridge can overheat. Just for information purposes, below the high level brake light, you'll find your reversing camera. Moving on to the other side of the vehicle, here is the gas locker. Again, as demonstrated to you when you were looking at the vehicle, this is the pigtail. The pigtail on this particular vehicle is not a drive safe pigtail, so you have to switch the gas off every time you're driving the vehicle for safety reasons. There's a reverse thread on here, so it is clockwise to close, CC, clockwise to close, and it's anti-clockwise to open. When you are turning the valve, when you're turning it anti-clockwise, you'll feel the valve is lifting up, and obviously it's lifting up, it's clearing space for the gas to flow out of the bottle into the regulator, from the regulator into the rest of the system. Also stored in here, that's the bag for your water filler. This is your electric hookup cable with a domestic adapter on the end, and a little bottle of toilet chemical left behind by the previous owner. The next hatch that we find on the outside of the vehicle is for the battery compartments, and again it is one of your 2 keys. This key is the Fiat key, so that's everything to do with driving the vehicle. This is the Bailey key, it's everything to do with the living side of things in the vehicle. There's your leisure battery, completely sealed off from the rest of the vehicle, vented to the outside, and your electric hookup point there. Right, make sure I turn it the right way to lock it. Yep. There we go. I'm going to have to put the phone down because it's a 2-hand job to get the key out. So, as we move on, diesel, again opened with the Fiat key and not the Bailey key. And the final little part of our tour of the outside of the vehicle is under the bonnet. To access the underneath of the bonnet, it's this latch here. Just on the floor here is the new windscreen wipers and your new steering lock, which we've popped into the van for you. So you come round to the front. To get underneath the bonnet, just underneath the bonnet, you'll find a secondary latch. You feel with your finger, you'll find it, lift it up, that's it there in the yellow, and it takes us to underneath the bonnet. On the far left hand side, this is really the only one that you should need regular use of. This is the windscreen washer bottle, tops up there. The black one is for steering fluid, for the power steering. That is brake fluid, and that is the coolant level, which should always sit just above the minimum level when the engine is cold, and it will be up at max when it's hot and under pressure. You should not need to, in a vehicle of this age, of this mileage, ever have to top up any of these three, just that one there for the windscreen washers. If you ever have cause to top up with oil, that's where the oil goes. There's the filler cap, and that little yellow handle thing there is the dipstick. Should for any reason you leave your lights on or something like that and the battery is flat, the battery is housed underneath the floor of the cab on the passenger side of the vehicle. Kind of awkward to get to, so Fiat have given you remote posts. Jump lead, positive jump lead on there, as you can see, it says plus there. Positive jump lead on there, and then for the negative jump lead, you come down to here and there's a bolt, there's the earth, you connect the negative there and you're able to jump start your vehicle. And that concludes the tour of the outside of your motorhome. Join me on the inside and we'll start to run through some of the various operating instructions for the components inside your motorhome. So welcome to the interior of your motorhome. Now, things are a little bit of a mess at the moment, but I've done this intentionally, taking things out so that we can demonstrate various aspects of the operation of the vehicle to you. So we'll start with the main control panel as you come through the front door of your vehicle. Right, up here there is a master switch, which is just the main 12-volt power. If I press this, all the lights will go out as all the 12-volt supplies are switched off. Next to that is the on-off switch for your water pump. We suggest you only use this on demand, switching the water pump on or off as required. I'll put it on for just now. Lights, that's the master control for all the lights, and all the lights are now on. This is the switch for the light outside on the awning. Unfortunately, it's not an electronic awning, it's just the light outside. Now, once you're inside the menu, you can move around using these toggle switches, and it allows you to do things like set the time on the clock. Little gauges, it tells you the amount of fresh water. At the moment we have 53% in the fresh water tank. There's nothing in the wastewater tank because we haven't put anything into it. Do we want to fill the internal tank? Now, that is a function that you only use if you're on a fully serviced site where water could be fed automatically into your tank as you draw it out, as I explained outside the vehicle. External temperature and user settings. Now you can send in here, you could change, if you enter in here, contrast, the brightness of the screen, whether you have a beep on or off every time you press a button, standby, how long before the screen goes to sleep. Leisure battery load, do you want a little beep warning to come on when that happens? The vehicle battery, do you want a wee beep when that happens, the automotive factory? Is there time to get a firmware update? That's something that we would do for you when you were in having a service if necessary. And then exit back to the main menu again. Carbon monoxide and smoke alarms fitted as standard. Over here, just light switches and a 230 volt socket. So if you're on a campsite and plugged into mains, here you can operate a toaster or a kettle. This is your cooker. It's a 4-ring gas hob. Controls there for the 4 gas rings. Offset from that is the grill and the oven. Grill control on this side and oven control on that side. I'll just quickly demonstrate for you. So you press and you turn and then press the igniter and the oven will ignite. You have a 3-way fridge which can operate on gas, battery and mains electric. At the moment the fridge is running on gas, and you can see that the indicator, or the gas operation indicator, is sitting in the green. This is the thermostat for the fridge, and this is the igniter button for the fridge. We're currently plugged into mains, so we could run the fridge on electric. As we do, you see that indicator has dropped down from green into the silver because it's not operating on gas. It's got nothing to show as being operational. Running on battery is only done while the vehicle is in motion. Now, it will not generate enough power via your alternator to bring your fridge down to its operating temperature. What it will do though is keep the fridge at its operating temperature. So if you are going away on a trip, it's always advisable to plug into the mains at home the night before you go, turn your fridge on with mains electric, get it down to temperature, and then you're able to put your supplies in it before the start of your trip, and your supplies will then be kept cold while you're in transit on the battery, and then when you get to your destination, if it's an electric hookup pitch on a campsite, back to there. If it's not, we go to gas, and to operate on gas, you turn it to gas, you press in that button there, press the igniter and hold it until you see the indicator line climb into the green. Once it's climbed into the green, you can let go of the igniter button. Keep your fingers depressed on the supply button on the thermostat, and once you're well and truly in the green, release that and the needle will stay right in the middle of the green. Fridge is working a-okay. So, how do you light your cooker? Now you have 4 controls for the 4 rings on top of your cooker. There is no igniter, unlike the grill and the oven. So you push in the gas, turn it to max, and then apply a flame to the cooker and release. Push down, turn to max, apply a flame, and you have to keep the flame, the button pushed down and the flame burning with a booster almost until the thermocouple heats up. The thermocouple is a safety cutout. If for any reason the flame goes out on any of your rings, the thermocouple cools down, the system recognizes the fact that there is no heat, and the gas gets cut off. So there we go, 4 rings all working well. Now some cookers have a safety valve, and as that comes down the gas cuts out. This one does not, so you have to be very careful not to lower the gas while you have flames on any of the rings. And once you've finished cooking and taken all your pans off, make sure the rings have cooled down before you bring the glass down. Again, there's still enough residual heat that the gas could get really quite hot, and then all it would take would be a splash of cold water or you to hit a pothole on the road and that glass would shatter. Once you've filled your motorhome with water, you're then able to, assuming you've switched your water pump on here, turn the taps and draw water through the system. Now we have not only charged the system with water, we have switched on the heater, and I'll show you how you switch on the heater in a moment to generate hot water for you. There is, unfortunately, it's around the back of the tap and you can't see it. There's a little red and a little blue marker. You'll see steam coming off the water now. The water does get very hot. Hot water is in this position here. Cold water is in that position there. And then off. When you first charge your system and switch the sink on, there will be a lot of air comes out. Now you have to make sure that you've drawn water from your freshwater tank into the boiler before you switch the hot water on in the boiler to heat up. If you put on the elements and the gas to heat up the boiler and there's no water in it, you can burn your boiler out. To make sure that you have got water in your hot boiler, you turn the tap in the kitchen to the hot position, turn it on, and when there's no more air coming out, when it's just a constant flow of water, you know that your boiler has been fully charged. It's also worthwhile when you're doing that exercise to check both the tap in the vanity unit and also in the shower. So again, if I turned it to the hot position, which is here, you can see that's hot, that's cold. I turn it to hot and turn it on. In a couple of moments, you'll start to see steam rising up from there as the hot water comes through. To flush the toilet, well, first of all, the blade I told you about outside is that handle down there. Your bowl spins round, so if you need the leg room, if you're quite tall, you can turn it round to that angle. To operate the toilet, unlike the toilet at home, there is no water in the toilet. The first thing you do is you open the valve by pushing this lever to that position there. And you'll see inside the blade opens. You then have access down into the cassette. Do whatever you have to do. Flush to rinse the inside of the bowl by pressing this blue button here. That will just rinse the bowl once that's stopped running, and you just have to keep your finger on the button to continue the flush. It's not like your flush at home where one push gives out a measured dose of water. Close the valve off, trapping odours and smells inside your cassette. When you're having a shower, you don't have to open this because it is permanently vented and steam will escape. But if it is a very warm day and you want some fresh air, you can simply, by pulling that down and squeezing that release, push up one side and then the other side, and have a good flow of air escaping out of your van. When travelling, this must always be completely shut. The same is true of all the roof light windows in your vehicle. Privacy in the bathroom comes from a privacy blind that comes up, but if it's a warm summer's day and you want some fresh air inside the bathroom and inside the rest of the vehicle, you can open the handles, push the window open, and then lock off your window stays here and here, keeping your window open. But of course, again, never travel with the window open. If you want a flow of cool air coming into the vehicle on a warm evening but still want security, there's a first position latch on all the windows. But again, in transit, you must come to the second position and tightly close the windows. The same operation is true of all the windows in the vehicles. Again, fly screen and privacy screen on every window. In the dining area and lounge area, more 240 volt sockets, 12 volt socket and a TV aerial socket can be found there. Also, inside your cupboard is the actual television aerial. There is a locking screw at the top here, which you can loosen off and take your aerial. You see it's got quite a long pole, and you can push it up unscrew this to loosen it off. There we go. And you can push it up, and there's quite a bit of travel on there, which should allow you to get a decent picture wherever you are. Now, in days gone by, this is H. It means the aerial is in the horizontal position, and there's a small crank handle at the bottom here. And in days gone by, you would push that aerial up into position, and then you would turn that crank handle round until this changed to a V for vertical. This would, I'll demonstrate very quickly. Just push it up because it has to be clear of the roof of the vehicle for the handle to turn. and then as you start to turn, that would become red and go to horizontal. Now that was pre-digital. Nowadays with digital you don't have to tune your aerial into the vertical position to get a picture. All you have to do is rotate the aerial until you find a picture on your television. The aerial must be pointing in the direction of your transmitter. When you're traveling in transit, always make sure that that is pointing to the rear of the vehicle. That means the aerial is lying flat in the correct position for aerodynamics, and you won't get wind catching up underneath the aerial and wanting to lift the aerial up. Here is your amplifier for the for the aerial. As you turn the aerial to tune it in, the light changes from red, amber to green. When you're in green, that's the strongest signal, and as a booster you've got a little dial here. It's a simple little amplifier which boosts the level of signal going to your handset. On-off switch for the 12 volt supply to the aerial is just on top of the box there, and that's your television aerial. There's also a television aerial point in the lounge area just there. Now, while we're here, let's have a look at the controls for your hot water and your heating. Two simple controls that control absolutely everything. Think of the bottom control as being your fuel source and your top control as being what you want to do with that fuel. So down here we have an outer ring with a little button on it there, a little marker. It's currently pointing to two wiggly lines and a gas flame. Each wiggly line represents, for example, a bar or an electric fire. And so at the moment we're showing 2 bars and a gas flame. So we're running on a combination of fuels, gas and electric, and we have an amber light on to indicate everything's working fine. 2 lines indicates 1800 watts of power has been selected. The next one down is 1 line and a flame, so that's 900 watts of electricity and gas. This one is gas alone. The amber light has gone out because it's running on gas on its own. We go on to electricity on its own at 900 watts, amber light comes back on, 1800 watts electricity. Now, if you're on a campsite and it's an older campsite, you want to run at 900 watts because you're not going to be drawing too much current. If you draw too much current, you will blow the trip fuse on the hookup post. If it's a more modern campsite, they'll quite happily cope with 1800 watts. Your water and your central heating doesn't get any hotter with 1800 watts, it just gets there a bit quicker. Moving up to the next dial. Outer ring again selects, inner ring is a thermostat. So at the moment, you can tell from the little marker is pointing to the flame and 60 degrees. Now down here, the flame means fuel type, gas. Up here, what it means is hot air. So we're getting hot air and thermostatically controlled at full temperature, which is round about 30 degrees Celsius. If I take, and you get water at 60 degrees Celsius. If I take this to that position there, it's simply warm air on its own, that's at 30. If I turn it down, you can hear the blower in the background. I don't know how good my mic is. If you turn that down to about 1, the fan isn't blowing as heavy because the thermostat's cut out because the van's already too warm for 1. But if you turned it back up to 5, in a couple of moments there would be a click, thermostat would kick in and the fan would start to blow to bring the room temperature, ambient temperature up to what you've set it at. The little marker in the middle is 0. This will continue to flash and as the unit goes through a cool down phase. This one here, wiggly lines with a 40, that means hot water at 40, and this position here is hot water at 60. Now you can do whatever you like when you've just selected hot water, it's going to make no difference because this thermostat only controls room temperature. So let's return to room temperature at 60 and we'll come down to about 1 because it's warm enough for me here like that today. This is the master switch for the electricity supply to the hot water heater. So if I had switched that off, there I'm now getting a flashing red light because I have selected electricity as my power source and I'm trying to get hot water and hot air, but I've switched off the power to the boiler. So if I come back, let you see the red flashing light, switch the boiler power on. It'll take a couple of moments to reset. There we go. Back on electric, hot water and boiler, and no flashing red light. All your electrics are controlled from this charging box, and it's also your fuse box. So RCD trip switches for the circuits, main RCD trip switch if you ever get a bad earth anywhere, and individual fuses for individual items in the vehicle. So we've got lights, we've got fridge, we've got water pump. They're all clearly marked, and the fuses are marked with their ratings as well. The warm air is carried around your vehicle in these cardboard tubes. You might find some of the cardboard tubes look like they've been vandalised in places. It's just where the engineers have gone round with a screwdriver, making a hole in the cardboard tube to allow warm air to escape, which then circulates around the van by convection and keeps you warm and cosy as toast. So, while the cushions are off here, there's a similar hatch lifts up on that side to give you access to storage under that half of your couch. Now, while I've got this off, I can demonstrate how the beds work. So you've got a choice. You can either sleep all the way along this couch, turning that chair around, removing this piece of wood here, which is just held in with Velcro, and then you have a single bed that runs the length of the vehicle. If you want to have a double bed, which is made up of that couch sliding forward to the halfway mark, I think you can just see an indentation in the carpet where it's been, and this one as well, and it's done by this hand in here, pull this to here, and then you do the same on this side, pulling it to there, and they meet in the middle. You then take your cushions, pull them to the middle, and your cushions from the back fill in the space. Now, a little tip here, your couch has a little curved bit here to the upholstery. If you pull these two to the middle here, that's going to run right up the middle of your bed. So if you take this cushion and spin it round 360 degrees, placing this little raised bit at the back end, it will be either at your head or down at your feet, because you do the same at this. There you can see it in profile there. And then you don't have a ridge running down the middle of the bed. Keeps your bed nice and flat. Top tip number 10. That is how you make up the beds in your new motorhome. Let's look at the controls for your seats. Here and here, in the centre of the gangway between the two seats, there is the levers that you pull to release the spin mechanism of the seat. With that lever released, your seat will spin round. So you can spin them round when you have company, and then whoever's sitting in the front can join in the conversation with those sitting at the back, or to help form part of a long single bed. The height adjustments of the seat are found on this side of the seat. This releases the front and this releases the back. I won't do it because I'm not actually sitting in the seat, but when you're sitting in the seat, when you release the front, it's spring loaded and it pops up. Using your body weight and these two levers and a seesaw motion, you raise the height of the seat up and down. The rake of the seat for comfort while driving is controlled by that gnarled knob there, and the angle at which the armrest stops, whether it be all the way down or stops up there, is controlled by turning this gnarled function there. See, that stops there, wind it back the way, and it goes further down. And that's how your seats operate. Moving to the cab, On the driver's door, you'll find the operations for the electric mirrors. You have 2 mirrors on each side of the vehicle, and if you look down here, 1, 2, 3, and just over there, 4 little markers. If you turn this dial to the first marker, and then you then have a joystick which you can use to adjust the positioning of the top mirror. The next position, going clockwise, controls the bottom mirror. Next position is the bottom mirror on that side of the vehicle, and the final 5th position, sorry for making you seasick, controls the main mirror on the other side. When travelling, this arrow here and this arrow here will adjust your headlight beams up and down when you're on full beam. The mode button takes you into the various computerized modes for your logging of journeys, average speed, miles per hour, miles to empty on your fuel, etc. The Fiat manual explains clearly how all of these work. On the right hand side of the steering wheel is your wiper control. In the middle of the steering wheel is the channel hopping buttons for the radio and the volume control and mute. Indicator stalk on the left, and below that is your cruise control. Instructions on how the cruise control operate are found inside your user's manual. Radio, simple on-off button here. There we go, welcome, and I'm going to switch that off again before any music plays and I get done for copyright. CD player, FM, AM, media is for if you are doing, now is there Bluetooth on this? We need to check the manual to see what media we get. Let's turn the volume down so that we don't get into trouble with the Performing Rights Society. It's reading a CD. Oh, someone's left a CD behind.
And Wednesday night I performed in front of a live audience.
Well, if you like Robbie Williams, looks like you've been left a Robbie Williams CD by the previous owner. And if we go, and menu, pause the CD. It looks like media is either CD or radio. There is no Bluetooth with this particular vehicle. So if you're wanting to play music off your iPad, you'll need to get yourself one of those little FM transmitters. That's what I have in my car. To use the air conditioning, you press that button, select cold, select the fan speed, select recycled air to save energy, and then decide where you want the air to go. Is it going to go to feet and face, or is it going to be on defrost? Final set of buttons. It's a deadlock button when you're inside the cab. This will lock all the vehicle doors, including the back door. Well, that opens it, that locks it. Hazard warning, rear fog lights. Now normally this would be your heated rear window, but this button now only operates the heated elements behind your mirrors. So in a very cold morning, if your mirrors are all misted up, switch that button in and it will demist for you. This is a 12-volt power supply. This is a cigarette power supply, cigarette lighter, which is another 12-volt power supply. This one is the one we would recommend to use if you were running a charger on your phone or anything like that. There's a maximum wattage of 180. This, being a cigarette lighter, unless you had a governed unit that you'd plugged in there, you could be in danger of supplying too much wattage, too high a voltage into your vehicle. Small glove compartment up here. When you're using air conditioning, this glove compartment is vented at the back there. It blows cool air from the air conditioning. So if you carry a bar of chocolate while driving, your Yorkie bar, keep it in there. It will stop it melting. And down here there is another glove compartment. And your reversing camera is there. The screen, it's a manual screen, you have to switch it on. When it's switched on and you select reverse, you will see the rear image appearing in there. So we had a small break in transmission while I went and got the keys so that I could switch the ignition on and demonstrate the reversing camera. So the reversing camera is actually permanently on, so you can have it almost like a rear view camera, because if you look in the proper rear view mirror, you'll see that because of the height of the window at the back, you'll have a blind spot right behind the vehicle. If you glance in that mirror, you'll see traffic behind you on the road, but there'll be quite a sizable blind spot at the bottom of your van. Problem solved by your reversing camera. If you find that that's a distraction while you're driving under normal circumstances, you can simply switch the screen off. And just to demonstrate that your air conditioning works, there we go, a little orange light indicating air conditioning is on, and very shortly it will start to blow cold air. So once you've removed the awning crank from underneath the bed or in the wardrobe, wherever you decide to store it, turn the handle thus, insert it into the hook up there, and then start to wind. Continue to wind until the awning comes down to a comfortable height where you can reach up and get the legs. Now, the legs are stored inside the leading edge of the awning, and they're held in place just by little clips that click in. With a little bit of practice, you get them in quite easily. There we go, like that. So you unclip the leg and you come to this end where you pull the hinge out of the knuckle. You bring the leg down, release the holding screw, drop the leg to the ground, expand to the leg to the height that you want, and lock it off. Angle the leg like this. Repeat this process on the other side of the awning. Once you've done that, return here and start to wind the awning out further, walking the awning out. You can see the leg changing angle there. Then move back to here, move the awning leg out further, wind out further until you get the awning to the point where you want it. And the legs are vertical. Wind the awning back a little bit, which will take the strain on the canvas. You want the canvas to be taut, not loose. As it is at the moment, it's loose because I've only got one leg down to demonstrate today. If that awning was loose like that and the rain came on, it would fill up with water and it would be very heavy, and also it would soak somebody when you brushed it off. Awnings don't like wind and they don't like the wet. Other than that, they're ideal for keeping the sun off. And to put the awning away, simply reverse the process, making sure that you put the foot flat against the back of the awning, push the hinge back into the knuckle, and then clip the leg underneath the plastic, holding it firmly in place, returning to the handle and winding the awning back in. There is a good firm click as the awning comes home. Unhook the handle and you're ready to drive off. And this concludes the tour of your brand new Bailey Approach motorhome. On behalf of Highland Camper Vans, can I say thank you very much for choosing us, and may we wish you lots of miles and lots of smiles in your new motorhome. Our logo is Drive, Park, Relax, and that's exactly what you're going to be able to do with your new motorhome. If you ever are in any doubt over any parts of the operation and watching the videos again doesn't make it clearer for you, please pick up the phone and give us a call. My colleague John and I will only be too happy to help. Enjoy your new motorhome.